got interrupted. We may have to put the recording back. The replay on Wednesday will actually have the full context of our show. It seems like our show got bumped and our tech dropped. So apologies for the gap point that we may have. The replay at 11:30 Wednesday morning for our London and our Sydney timeframes will have the full recording on it. This one, however, got dropped for a few minutes, which is interesting. My apologies for the interruption for those that may have gotten caught where we dropped our signal. So going back to keep the stream going for those that will do the replay, and of course the transcript notes will be in there and references to all links. The tools that we're using for how we discover what's going on from an ad campaign point of view is there's multiple platforms that you have to monitor. You have to monitor Meta, you have to monitor Google, you have to monitor Bing, you have to monitor even places as like TikTok and so forth for ads and ad types of when they go out. This gives you a sense of their timing and the modalities. It also gives you a sneak peek into what their legacy perpetual ads are, in the sense that when you begin to pull this data and see when their ads run and how long they were running, you see that sometimes these ads have been, they're evergreen ones, 300, 400, 500, 600 days, the same ad has been running. And when you look at the ad, sometimes it's eye-opening of how lazy some of these ads are. There are times where the ad is referring to a promotion that no longer exists. And you're sitting there going, my gosh, did you not know that your ad campaign, you're bleeding money on a campaign that no longer exists, that's been letting to be run for so long, that it's a waste of money. So you know that they're primed to be able to dance and be more adaptive than they are. One other thing you'll notice too is that ads are very uncreative from competitors, and sometimes they're very creative from others. The knowledge of looking and seeing that an ad is generic, hi, come, we have best rates, availability, we're on the beach, we're in the mountains, we're whatever it is so generic. There's no call to action that's worth attention. It's just trying to be put in front of you, and it turns into white noise for most of the users. That can sometimes be helpful in the sense that you can be front of mind at the right time. Just being aware that you're a product and market that they may not have known about, that can be helpful. But for actual conversion, progressive engagement, we've had this workflow conversation many times about the ad types that you have, is once an initial ad is put through, there should be a reconnoitering as to who engaged with that ad so they get another version of another ad without seeing the same first ad that they initially engaged with. This progression of communication, this refinement of content is what brings them closer to the path of making a conversion decision. Feeding them the same ad repetitively, may be for the fact that, yes, we're staying in front of mind with you, but the staleness of the repetition of the ad means that it is getting less and less impactful. And it just turns into yeah, I've seen that ad before, whatever. And you begin to discount because you're not being offered anything more than what you already know. No more content, no more insight, no more awareness, whatever. And also no more value proposition to the offer that initially got my interest. So because of that, you have the idea that perhaps you need to do better with variations of ads. You get, when you're looking at your market and your Compset, you get to see how little that's done, how few people actually do this progressive communication. You see a lot of static ads, a lot of generic ads, a lot of flat, bland ads. They rely heavily on the visualization that they may add with it, the image or the video or what have you. But the actual ad themselves lack any real substance of continuity and continuation of the dialogue with them. You also see no real engagement where they try to transfer the engagement from an ad to another medium. Say, for instance, to get this, do this, and we get your email or text or whatever way you want to convert them into a more dynamic direct messaging system. You see very little of those expenses. You see a lot of very generic placed ads that run for a very long time with very little specificity to them. And those that are specific to them really have no good solid call to actions. They, again, rely very heavily on the carousel image of a Meta ad or the visual video of a YouTube ad or an image ad on Google or something like this, which is just get your visual attention for you to click. The ad itself really doesn't give you enough value to make you want to click, except for the Oh, that was pretty picture, what have you. So this monitoring capability, the ability to understand what your competitors are doing by what ads they're putting out, is really very, very, very important. And there are platforms that allow for you to be notified whenever an ad changes. Once you identify the advertiser, you put up the parameter and on what channel you want to monitor, and it'll tell you whenever a new ad comes up. Um, there is the other ability to determine when the ads were made. So not only you get to do this by tracking what are they advertising on. You're familiar with platforms that will track and say, well, this is what your competitors are doing. This is the estimated spends. That math is easily calculatable. You do keyword discovery with Google. There's tools that are available, but there's tools out there that also you can define geography, device type, and what words, keywords that would be ones that you'd think would be most wanting to know who's on them. And it'll begin to garner all of the people that are competing with those ads, showing you the ads that they are actually running with, the keywords that they're using it with, and the percentage visibility that those ads are potentially generating to the overall audience availability for that keyword. It begins to give you a sense of who you are playing against and with. A lot of them can give you good examples of maybe something you should do for yourself. Others can give you examples of how to contrast them to downplay whatever it is that they're thinking is an asset into a detriment and your assets being better. There gives you the creative, insightful edge of what they're doing in contrast to what you are doing or should be doing. This pattern of when they place ads. Yes, we always see OTAs ever present on our branding and our location, especially seasonally when we know we're getting better in business. So OTAs know that too, and they're making their presence aware in the market, which is why our bid prices go up. Competition model changes, our positioning changes, and we have to spend more money or in better ways to make sure that we keep our percentage of voice in our audiences that we're going for. But having the schedule capability of seeing when these ads are being dropped, you'd be surprised how patterned, the OTAs, they deal with millions of markets considering their scope and size. So they do it off of patterns of performance. Unlike you, which is a person in the market, they have a lot of automation that algorithmically determines that at a certain volume historically, that starts on a certain date historically, that they begin to progress ads for that market historically with a bid structure historically that puts them into market and begins to make their placements. They also know where they need to bid historically as to how to margin themselves into a good place that they're not paying too much for, higher positioning, and they're not paying less than they should for good positioning. And because of that, you can dance around them a lot easier because they react slower than you do. You're able to see the fact that they tend to start their entrance into your market on the early hours where people are less about decision making than they are about discovery. And they tend to do it on low traffic days rather than high traffic days, so they have less costs associated with it. And then you see them shift into high traffic days, higher conversion opportunity windows, conversion meaning that this is the time that most people go through a decision process, usually a Tuesday, 10 to 2 o'clock, decision for short window stuff, which is our bread and butter at this point in time as to what booking engines are like, or booking windows are like. And that costs more because you're competing with more. So they know when to shift into gear to get into that time frame where they have to bid and price more. Having that schedule of who's competing with when on what keywords geographically, device type, mobile is a great traffic generator, but a lower conversion value than desktop is. But getting themselves in front of people so they bookmark it or come back to us so desktop picks up the conversion. Looking at your attribution and knowing when those things are, and then seeing it on a schedule of what your competitors are doing, you quickly see who are your good competitors that know what they're doing and who your poor competitors are just blanketing out what they're doing and are, by the luck of the draw, at the right place at the right time compared to choosing to be at the right place at the right time. And this kind of insightful market Compset monitoring analysis makes you better. It yields what you spend better. It saves a lot of time in the sense of having to research what is going on compared to being notified what's going on. It helps you interpret your own personal data analytics better because of the ability to understand why your numbers are doing what they're doing, and why your attribution strings look the way they do, compared to how your surrounding market, your direct competitors and your competitive markets are operating. And finally, I'd like to say that the sidebar to all of this is a unique ability to understand or discover the way people, businesses beyond your market do business that you might want to adopt. The old adage, if you want to learn to be better, look at somebody who already is and learn from what they're doing, is never truer than here in marketing, where you look at creative, insightful, thoughtful marketing strategies that you can research. You can chase and follow them down and see what they do. Like, if you wanted to improve your email string associated with people signing up for more information or whatever subscription service relationships you have on your site, go find who you think does it better or does it best and sign up with them with these type of tracking platforms and see how do they engage, their frequency pattern, their content shifts, and say, okay, so how can we emulate that? Does it apply to us, first off? I mean, sometimes it's only applicable to the product you pick. Like, if it's a retail product, you have to decide, is this the best way for us to translate this to a hospitality product, a hotel product in particular? And if it is, there is similarity to this, and great. How can we change what we're doing to be similar to how successful they've done? Because they've had some great people that have been working on this and come through and did this successfully, or they wouldn't be doing kind of mentality, adopting it and learning how to adopt it. This is some of the greater advantages also of doing these types of new marketing and Compset monitoring capabilities that people have. Having that knowledge and awareness. Plus, also in the great scope of things, the more you begin to gather all of this data, and the more that you apply it to data you already have about yourself, the more, as you develop your AI usage of interpreting data, the more outside resource data, okay, which is incredibly valuable for AI, to have a better prescriptive perspective of what you should be doing. At least it has a more predictive improvement on it, that it can tell you maybe more modifications as to why some of your numbers are changing the way they're doing, where just on your numbers alone, there's no definitive pattern for AI to say this is because of this. It just says your ad campaigns are going down, you need to improve your ad campaigns. But if you give it enough outside information, you might say, it might adapt that statement to simply saying your ad production is going down because XYZ competitor has a strong ad campaign about the same product with a better price and or frequency and or content, whatever it might be. And now you have a more specific resolution to improving your performance because you provided the additional exterior data to that as well. So there's more to talk about. Actually, I'm going to kind of crack this apart into some things, because the tools things are always of interest. We've talked about on hospitalitymarketing.club a lot. As to the usability of these tools, a lot of these tools weren't made for what we use them for. Flat out honest, we're adapting what they do to what we want them to tell us. A lot of these strings, when it comes to RPAs and scrapings and so forth, are adaptive usages of tools for a variety that do these things for other industry types, and we're doing them specifically for the industry type that the things we want to do in our own industry. So there's a lot of usability cases to all of that. So expect that this is going to be a little bit more of an additional topic as time goes on. With what we're going to speak about when it comes to Compset and marketing research and analysis and monitoring, because it is a very quickly changing thing, and it is fascinating. So again, apologies for what looks like an interruption in tech that we had. I don't know how long it lasted, so I know there's a gap point for some of you. For those that came back to us and watched the remainder of the show in the live format, thank you for doing that. I would recommend, if you did miss it where it blanked out and then all of a sudden pop back on a few minutes later, please go and check our replays, 11:30 Wednesday morning, a.m. at Sydney Australian time, and 11:30 a.m. Wednesday morning for London time. If you look at London times as a benchmark, then that's +6, and it's still be kind of early. The YouTube channel, there's the replay on it. Website, there's a replay on it. Hospitalitychannel.tv, there's always the replay on it. You can catch the show for there. The transcripts will be there as well. I'll slowly trickle feed some of the links to the tools I'm referring to. So not to overwhelm people as to go down the rabbit holes of having too many tools to look at and you get this paralysis of choice. I'll try to drip feed those as we break up functional usage of some of the tools. On the podcast, we'll refer to the tools in particular. We're going to take one of them just today and talk about it from an email perspective. So that will be one. That'll be on Hospitality Radio. You'll be able to catch that show and also our podcast. There's 39 countries. TV channel, if you're watching us on your smart TV, goes to 209 countries. And there's a fun thing that we come up in the show. I'm looking at AI's impact on language translations. And there is a really spiffy thing out there that may allow for real-time audio translation. You may say, well, that's not too new. It's like, well, this is in the sense that it's not just transcribing it for you to read. It actually takes the person's voice, emulates that voice and intonation, and changes it to the language that's your native language. So even though I would be speaking on the show live in English, if your native language was Hindi or Spanish or any of the, we translate our show into 11 languages, but they're all closed captioned afterwards, post-editing. We put the 11 languages in for the subtitles. This would be in real time. You now listen to the show live, and it's in your language. My voice, or an emulation of it, would be talking to you a half second behind me in your language, even though I'm speaking in English about it. Anyway, in the midst of field testing it, it's fascinating stuff. So we'll see how that goes. As always, if you have any questions, feedback, concerns, comments, please reach me at lauren@hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com, or you can catch me at hdmnews.news/talkback. Audibly, you can just leave an audio message for that. Again, apologies for the tech interrupt. Hopefully catch us on the rebound on all the platforms and channels we make ourselves available to. And again, if you have any questions and follow-ups, please reach out to me. So until next week, my name is Lauren Gray. I thank you for the privilege of your time and look forward to talking to you all next week.